For years, Michelle Pfeiffer was the kind of Hollywood beauty you couldn't forget, the golden-haired enigma who could play fragile and fierce in the same breath. From Scarface to Batman Returns, she wasn't just a star, she was cinema's obsession. Yet as time passed and the world's spotlight turned toward younger faces, Pfeiffer seemed to vanish. No scandals, no breakdowns, just quiet. Now at 67, Michelle Pfeiffer has returned, and her reappearance has left audiences stunned. It's not just how she looks, though. That alone has people talking. It's what she carries, the calm, the confidence, the mystery. The woman who once ruled Hollywood with silence is finally speaking. And what she reveals about why she walked away and how she found peace outside the chaos will leave you speechless. This isn't the story of a fading star. It's the story of a woman who chose truth over fame and came back stronger than ever. Michelle Pfeiffer's transformation isn't just physical, it's spiritual, emotional, and deeply human. She's not the Michelle the world once knew. She's something far more powerful. Before she became one of Hollywood's most mesmerizing faces, Michelle Pfeiffer was just another dreamer from Orange County, California. She didn't come from a family of privilege or fame. She came from quiet suburbs, working ordinary jobs, living an ordinary life. But behind her calm exterior was an ambition that refused to settle. Acting wasn't her first plan, but once she tasted it, the screen couldn't forget her. Her early days were tough. Rejections piled up. Casting directors told her she was too pretty to be taken seriously, a compliment that, in truth, was a cage. But Michelle wasn't interested in being just another beautiful face. She wanted to act, really act. And then came Scarface. It was 1983 when the world first saw her as Elvira Hancock, the icy, unreachable woman in Al Pacino's Empire of Crime. The film changed everything. The camera loved her, but so did audiences. Beneath the surface, beauty was something no one expected. Vulnerability. That mix, the grace, the fragility, the danger, made her unforgettable. Overnight, Michelle Pfeiffer became the woman every studio wanted and every director hoped to capture. But fame has a strange way of erasing the person underneath. In the years that followed, Michelle delivered performance after performance that seemed effortless. The Witches of Eastwick, Dangerous Liaison, The Fabulous Baker Boys. Critics called her the best of her generation. She became the face of Hollywood glamour. But that image came at a cost. Behind the scenes, Michelle was drowning in the same perfection that made her famous. Endless photo shoots, interviews about her looks, questions about beauty, never about soul. The more she tried to show depth, the more the industry framed her as an illusion, too flawless to be real. By the time she put on the black leather suit for Batman Returns in 1992, she was already questioning everything. Her performance as Catwoman was explosive, raw, seductive, and tragic. It became one of the most iconic roles in cinema history. But when the cameras stopped rolling, Michelle Pfeiffer was exhausted. She had created a character that symbolized rebellion, yet in her own life, she felt trapped. Friends from that time say Michelle was quiet between takes, withdrawn, focused. She wasn't chasing fame anymore, she was enduring it. Every red carpet felt like a performance. Every compliment felt hollow. And though the world saw her as confident, she was in truth beginning to pull away. In one rare interview, she later admitted that she never felt at ease with fame. "I didn't handle it well," she said softly. "It wasn't who I was." Those words hinted at what few understood. Michelle Pfeiffer was never meant to be a celebrity. She was meant to be an artist. Her beauty became both a blessing and a burden. And while the industry praised her, it also imprisoned her in an image she couldn't escape. So quietly, without drama or headlines, she started to disappear, not from the public's memory, but from the machine that tried to define her. What happened next wasn't a fall. It was a choice, one that would change everything about how Michelle Pfeiffer lived, loved, and saw herself. By the late 90s, Michelle Pfeiffer was everywhere. Magazine covers, award nominations, studio headlines. But behind the glow of fame was a woman quietly searching for an exit. Hollywood had made her a star, yet it had also stolen her sense of self. The constant pressure to look perfect, to stay relevant, to chase the next big role. It was endless. Michelle had played dozens of women on screen, but she was losing touch with the one she actually was. So, she made a decision few could understand at the time. At the height of her power, Michelle Pfeiffer simply walked away. There was no scandal, no public breakdown, no farewell tour. She vanished gently, slipping out of Hollywood's rhythm into something far more private. Reporters speculated. Some said she was tired of the industry. Others whispered about personal struggles. But the truth was simpler and more profound. Michelle was searching for peace. She wanted to be a mother, a wife, a human being again. She moved north away from Los Angeles, into the quiet rhythm of family life with her husband, television producer David E. Kelley. For nearly a decade, she focused entirely on raising her children. She rarely gave interviews. She didn't chase attention. And for a woman once called the most beautiful actress alive, that silence was shocking. But Michelle wasn't hiding. She was healing. In that quiet, she began to rediscover what happiness truly meant. There were no red carpets, no rehearsals, no spotlight. Just mornings with her kids, dinners at home, long walks, and the calm of being unseen. Friends later said that for the first time, Michelle seemed free. The perfection that had once suffocated her was gone. She didn't have to perform anymore. Still, the world didn't forget her. Every time her name was mentioned, people asked the same question. Where did Michelle Pfeiffer go? Her absence only deepened the mystery, and when she finally returned to the screen years later, the world gasped. Because she looked almost untouched by time. But more than that, she carried herself differently, calmer, wiser, more real. In interviews after her comeback, Michelle admitted she'd once believed her career defined her. Now she understood that her worth had nothing to do with fame. She spoke about her time away with gratitude, calling it the most important role I've ever played, being present. And that shift changed everything about how the world saw her. She wasn't just an actress anymore. She was a survivor of Hollywood's pressure, a living example that stepping away doesn't mean fading away. If you've been moved by Michelle's journey so far, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Every story we tell reveals the truth behind the fame, and your support helps us bring these untold journeys to light. Her story was no longer about beauty or fame. It was about rediscovery, about a woman who dared to lose the world just to find herself again. When Michelle Pfeiffer quietly stepped back into Hollywood, it wasn't with the loud comeback most stars attempt. There was no media campaign, no dramatic rebranding. She simply reappeared, graceful, grounded, and completely transformed. Years away from the spotlight had changed her. She was no longer chasing approval. She didn't need to. Her first major return came in 2017 with Mother and Murder on the Orient Express. The world was stunned. Michelle didn't just look radiant, she looked alive. There was something almost unreal about her presence, a stillness that came from peace rather than performance. Viewers noticed more than her timeless beauty. They saw the calm confidence of a woman who had learned to live on her own terms. When asked what brought her back, she said, "I miss telling stories. Not fame, not attention, just the art." She'd spent years being a mother, a wife, a listener. Now she wanted to explore herself again through characters that meant something. She didn't want to play perfect women anymore. She wanted to play real ones, flawed, complex, beautifully human. But even as fans celebrated her return, Michelle admitted that coming back wasn't easy. She doubted herself. She worried if the audience still cared, if the industry would still open its doors for a woman who had chosen to disappear. Hollywood is often unforgiving to actresses who age, and Michelle knew that better than anyone. Still, she chose courage over fear. Her honesty in interviews became part of her evolution. She spoke about aging with grace, refusing surgery, and embracing imperfection. "There's freedom in not needing to be flawless," she said. And that sentence struck a chord around the world. Michelle Pfeiffer, once the symbol of impossible beauty, was now redefining what it meant to be timeless. She didn't chase youth, she chased authenticity. And somehow that made her even more captivating. Fans flooded social media, astonished not just by how she looked, but by how she carried herself. It wasn't the kind of beauty you could buy. It was the kind that comes from peace, the kind earned through silence, growth, and letting go. Directors who worked with her after her return said she was different. Softer in spirit, yet sharper in focus. She no longer worried about being perfect in every frame. Instead, she focused on truth. The small, invisible emotions that only come when an actor is completely present. And audiences felt it. In French Exit, she delivered a haunting, deeply human performance, one that reminded everyone why Michelle Pfeiffer wasn't just another movie star. She was an artist who had survived the machine and come back stronger. Behind the camera, she balanced her work with her life in a way she never could before. She filmed less, lived more. For Michelle, success wasn't measured in awards or headlines anymore. It was measured in peace, laughter, and quiet mornings with her family. Her reappearance at 67 wasn't a return to Hollywood. It was a return to herself. At 67, Michelle Pfeiffer no longer fits into Hollywood's old definitions of beauty, and that's exactly why she stands out more than ever. She has become something few stars ever managed to be, ageless in spirit, not in appearance. Her beauty no longer shocks because of perfection. It moves people because it's real. Every line on her face tells a story. Every glance carries decades of wisdom, loss, and quiet strength. In recent interviews, Michelle speaks differently now. Her words are measured but sincere. She doesn't romanticize fame or success anymore. She talks about family, balance, and finding meaning in ordinary moments. She says she's proud of her career, but prouder of the life she built away from cameras. There's a kind of peace, she says softly, that only comes when you stop trying to be someone else. And perhaps that's the secret everyone's been searching for. The reason people still gasp when they see her today. It isn't just the surface. It's the serenity that shines through it. She has aged, but she has grown into herself in a way Hollywood rarely allows. Michelle Pfeiffer didn't fight time. She befriended it. What makes her story remarkable isn't the comeback. It's the courage it took to disappear when the world demanded she stay. She refused to let fame define her worth, and because of that, her return feels even more powerful. Younger stars now call her an example of endurance, proof that talent, grace, and authenticity never fade. She mentors quietly, chooses her projects carefully, lives privately. She doesn't compete for the spotlight anymore. She lets it come to her. And when it does, it feels earned, never chased. Those who meet her today say she radiates something they can't quite name. Maybe it's gratitude, maybe it's wisdom, or maybe it's just peace. The kind that only comes when a person finally accepts every chapter of their story. Michelle once said, "I don't need to be seen all the time. I just need to be true when I am." That simple truth has become her legacy, in an industry that worships youth. She stands as a reminder that the most powerful beauty isn't about defying age, it's about embracing it. That's why, when people see her now, they don't just see a movie star. They see resilience. They see balance. They see a woman who faced the weight of fame, stepped away, and came back on her own terms. Michelle Pfeiffer is not the same woman the world once adored. She's something rarer. A woman who lived, lost, learned, and found peace in the process. And when you see her today, you don't gasp because of how she looks. You gasp because she finally looks like herself.